Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? Some Mardi Gras parades rolling here on a Fat Tuesday. Well, on Lundi Gras, Jameis Winston was out at a parade, and Margaret Orr from WDSU, who's a longtime meteorologist at WDSU, and a lot of the, if you're not familiar, a lot of all of the New Orleans television stations, like, it's all hands on deck to go cover all the parades, which is one of the really cool assignments that they all get to do. But Margaret Orr catches up with Jameis Winston, who's at one of these parades, and he's there on the street, and shaking hands, kissing babies, catching the floats. He's there with his family. And Margaret Orr catches up with Jameis, and she does ask him, and she's not a sports reporter or anything, she's a meteorologist, but she did ask him about where he was going to be next year. And, of course, Jameis is an impending free agent. Here was that interaction.
NOLA forever.
I would love to stay at NOLA forever, but wherever the Lord has planned for me, I'm going to go and do my best wherever that is. Hopefully it's here, because I love this energy, I love this city.
So what do you love about New Orleans?
I think I just love the people. I feel like this is, when I go out to a place, when I meet individuals, they're just so authentic. And I just think that's how I grew up. I was born in Alabama, and so there's Southern hospitality, there's Southern love. And New Orleans is it's not another place in the world like New Orleans. Just the culture and just the love that's here. I just really admire it.
One of the things we talk about with not only New Orleans, but just the state of Louisiana is New Orleans and the state is so culturally different from the rest of the South. And we pride ourselves on that difference, right? We love that we spell things differently and say things differently and eat different things, and there's always a party, and you could sort of be dropped, you could be blindfolded and dropped in parts of Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, Panhandle of Florida, Tennessee, Kentucky, and not know where you are, because a lot of them are very homogenous in this region. And that's not a bad thing. That's true in the Midwest. I mean, you could be dropped in parts of the Midwest and not know if you're in Kansas or Idaho or Iowa or Nebraska. I mean, it's just southern Indiana or southern Illinois. It's true. But Louisiana is different culturally than the rest of the South, especially the southern part of our state. We take great pride in that. And because we're different, we take pride in our differences. And when people who aren't from here wrap their arms around our culture and our the city or our state, we'll give you the biggest bear hug back ever. I mean, that's why you've seen guys like Drew Brees and Joe Burrow become legacies and legends here. Thomas Morstead, my goodness, like, the Saints let him go, and he still lives in New Orleans. He brought his family back. He's on social media, at the parade talking about home, and it's just, that's the kind of thing that will endear you to this place forever. And Jameis has done that. But there's this question really about, what's going to be next for Jameis? And I was looking earlier today at all of the starting quarterbacks in the NFL and what might be the next stop for Jameis. So kind of what I did was I looked at it from the standpoint, okay, which teams are out? Like, which teams are not an option for Jameis? So another way to say it is, who has an established quarterback, all right? Baltimore, alphabetically in the AFC. Baltimore with Lamar Jackson, Buffalo, Josh Allen, Cincinnati's got Joe Burrow, Cleveland has paid Deshaun Watson, so they're attached at the hip there, regardless of what happens with Flacco. Houston drafted C.J. Stroud. Indianapolis drafted Anthony Richardson. Jacksonville obviously has Trevor Lawrence. Kansas City with Mahomes. The Chargers with Herbert. Miami with Tua, and the Jets with Aaron Rodgers. So in the AFC, the potential spots for Jameis would be Denver, the Raiders, the Patriots, the Steelers, or Tennessee. And now the Steelers, maybe Kenny Pickett's their guy. Maybe they bring in someone to compete. Tennessee, maybe Will Levis is their guy. Maybe they bring in somebody to compete. We'll see. In the NFC, Arizona, they've already paid Murray. Carolina, used the first overall pick last year for Bryce Young. Chicago has Justin Fields, and they may very well be drafting Caleb Williams, so that's highly unlikely. Dallas has Dak. Detroit has Goff. Green Bay has Love. The Rams has Stafford. Philly has Hurts. And San Francisco has Purdy. So they're all out. So you look at the NFC teams that are possibilities. Well, it's Atlanta, Minnesota, because Kirk Cousins is a free agent. We'll see what happens there. The Saints, Giants, Seahawks, Tampa, and Washington. Now, Tampa could choose to re-sign Baker Mayfield. Washington could very well draft a quarterback, as we're all expecting. You know, in the AFC, New England could draft a quarterback. The Raiders could draft a quarterback. You look at those teams, there's a lot of maybes, but essentially it's Denver, the Raiders, the Patriots, Pittsburgh, Tennessee, Atlanta, Minnesota, New Orleans, the Giants, Seattle, Tampa, and Washington. It's 12 teams. I'd say 20 teams are established at quarterback. 12 teams could be looking for an option. It's not to say definitively would sign Jameis to be their starter, but in a lot of those teams are going to draft a quarterback. We're assuming New England and Washington are going to draft quarterbacks. The Raiders very well could draft their quarterback. So in a draft this deep with maybe as many as 3 quarterbacks going 1, 2, 3, you could see, you know, Penix and McCarthy and Nix all go high as well. I mean, you could have 6 of these 12 draft what they feel is their franchise. So where does that leave you? Well, Kirk Cousins is going to play. So you see my point? So like it starts narrowing down that list of what the possibilities are. And I really think there are 5 places that are potentially the best opportunities for Jameis. Denver, and again, we'll see what happens with Russell Wilson. Pittsburgh, where you've got Kenny Pickett, but do you bring in someone like Jameis to compete with Kenny Pickett for the starting job? Las Vegas, where you've got Jimmy Garoppolo, but I don't think anyone's convinced there that he's the answer. Maybe that is their veteran guy, and they draft a young quarterback. Atlanta, same thing, where you've got Desmond Ridder there, but they're certainly not sold on Desmond Ridder, and they could bring in Jameis, or they could draft a quarterback. And then New Orleans, which kind of points me to why, you know, it really is going to come down, I think, to answering one question. Is there a team in the NFL that's willing to give Jameis Winston the opportunity to be their starter? And I don't know the answer to that. Maybe, like I said, maybe Pittsburgh with Kenny Pickett. Maybe Tennessee, do you want to come in and compete with Will Levis? Maybe the Raiders, do you want to come in and compete with Jimmy G? Like, no one's going to sign Jameis to be the starter. But there might be teams, Atlanta, that's willing to sign him to come in to compete to be the starter, like Baker Mayfield had this past year. Hey, come in and compete with Kyle Trask to see if you can win the starting job. He did, won the division, got into the playoffs, and he may be a guy that they sign an extension this offseason. So that situation may arise in one of those places, but if it doesn't, if that opportunity isn't there for Jameis, then New Orleans is his best option. He's established here. He clearly loves it in New Orleans. He's exactly what you want in a backup quarterback, a guy that's been a starter, that's had success, that has ability, that has the respect of the locker room, that's a veteran that if you need him in a pinch because of an injury to your starter, can go give you 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks as a starter and be good, you know, keep the train on the tracks. I don't know that there's a better scenario for Jameis outside of New Orleans. And the fact that he's saying he'd love to be here forever and he loves the city and the people love him back, we've come a long way from y'all criticizing him for interceptions and crab legs, haven't we? He's beloved now because he's embraced the city, and the city's embraced him back. And I think the organization will as well. I'd love to see Jameis back in New Orleans. But with Derek Carr there, he's not going to be anything more than the backup. The question is, are any of the 12 teams I just rattled off willing to pay him to come in and compete for the opportunity to be their starter? If that opportunity presents, then Jameis probably leaves. If he doesn't, then he might just be a Saint for life. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.